variety because of exactly what you've done. And so this says 10% weapon damage.
I'm gonna show y'all again.
Max armor that's depleted. So as your armor
500 on the 500,000 plus on the first clip.
so about 50%, your weapon damage has actually gone another 50%. So you can imagine what would happen if I was maybe face trading with somebody with my tactical weapon already has 50%. And imagine if I had that talent on here, and it was, I'm sorry, if I had that talent on my chest, sorry, that would in any ways give me an extra 7,000 more damage on my weapon if I were
Come on, it's playing now.
my armor. That person stands no chance. I don't care if they are a PvP player or PvE player. If I can get that much damage into them, unless they're running some really high armor builds, they're going down. Now, the next one that I'm going to actually
see it? There it is.
Based on damage mitigation, and that's patience. This, what this talent is, seconds. Armor replenishes by 5% every 1 second. So every second your armor is replenishing while you're in cover. Now, you don't have to be at rest in cover. You just have to be in cover. So even if you're in from cover and you've been in cover for 2 seconds, I mean, this is definitely something that I would say if you want to be able to get your armor back and mitigate a lot of the damage. The next one is pretty much hard hitting. This one is one that everybody should be running around with. Hard hitting gives you 15% damage to elite, and you can stack it on your backpack, stack it on your knee pads, and I think you can stack it on your chest piece. I don't know. Oh yeah, you can. So you can get up to 45% damage to elite if you actually wanted to do that. Now, yes, it's on an Overlord one, but I think you can probably run it on almost everyone. You just go in there and recalibrate.
The fuck just happened?
And you can transfer that to your item. The little bang symbol around it, so that's not the same as it. So these are 6 talents that I think
800,000, nigga.
needs to have. I mean, you cannot go without,
800,000 on one clip.
But something like patience, if you're not running patience on your knee pads or on some of your items, what are I think it's only knee pads so far because I see it on the Douglas Harding and on the Murakami Industries knee pads, and so I guess it's a knee pad based talent. I'm fortunate to be able to get 2 talents that will
Man, y'all see it, baby.
as well. So this is my list. I have any other talents I'm missing. Please make sure you add them in the comments section because I know this is going to be helpful for a lot of division players, especially new ones that are coming into the game or people who are just, pressed for time and are looking for some of the best things to run. And one thing I would say is don't crush your gear just because. Go ahead and move through them, but videos like this are helping to point out some of the things you need to look out for. Like reserve, I almost crushed like one of my chest pieces that had reserve on it, and I didn't even, pay attention looking around them. But make sure you're looking around, and you're going to be seeing, a bunch of really cool talents. Like a talent like this. This is a holster talent, and it's only on the heraldic holding so far. It's called Filler Up. So reloading from empty reloads all weapons. Oh my goodness! This is definitely a talent that I'm definitely going to be building around. And if hopefully, I hope it's on other holsters, but I don't see any other holsters that have it. But I didn't add it on this list. Oh, the Richer and Kaiser actually has it too. Well, nice. And also Wavern has talents as well. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, man, there are a bunch of fun talents in this game. And I would definitely recommend that you look through your builds and that you make sure that you know exactly what these talents are doing. And if they look interesting, put it in your stash. You never know when you need something that's as interesting. So that's all I have for today. Thank you very much for your time and your audience. Leave your own recommendations below in the comment section. And I guess I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.
Helping us put away our fears. We have an amazing team that fights for the best outcome. He has the best jams. I don't have to worry that how much is that bag of fluid gonna cost me? Can
Shags also reduce noise, making your home calmer. Shop thousands of shag rugs on Whittier.com.
I'm gonna put that damage on leaks to something else. I need that hard hitting though. But I need this too though.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I wanted to speak about something that can be maybe overlooked, but at the same time is very critical for any player in the Division 2, and that's the in-game economy of the game itself. And so the in-game economy consists of loot and loot trading or loot resource farming. If you understand what I mean, if you don't worry, as we're going through the video, you'll probably get where I'm coming from. And so, first of all, what makes the Division 2 a very good game is, as a looter shooter, is that there's a lot of loot. There's no question about that. There's a bunch of stuff that you get, and some people may argue, well, you get a lot of trash gear, but to be very honest, trash gear is actually very valuable in this game, and the developers have actually done it that way, and I'll show you. So first of all, the amount of E-credits that you need to purchase items in the Division are actually very high. And so you need to have E-credits. Well, the only way you can get E-credits is by doing activities and selling stuff. And so even what you call trash gear or junk gear is actually very useful. And if you look at the amount of money it costs to actually sell each item, it's actually very low. And so you have to gather a bunch of this so-called trash gear to be able to get enough credits in order for you to make a purchase. Also, if you look at crafting, crafting requires you, even in World Tier 4, to spend a bunch of resources, as well as about 700 and so, or 746, 764 E-credits in order to make one crafting action, which is a very expensive transaction in my opinion, especially the fact that if you sell
That gives me 46.
it costs about 194 E-credits. So 7 masks plus resources for you to craft one mask. Do you see how crazy it sounds? Or for you to craft one vector or one weapon or something. And so the math starts to align and it starts to make sense. And then when you even go to the recalibration station, which is asking you for about 3,900 E-credits in order to make one recalibration transaction, then that so-called trash gear now starts to sound actually very good, huh? Because if you look at me, my credits right now, I have about 50,000 credits. And if say I wanted to make 3 recalibration transactions, which is nothing if I was trying to min-max a build, I would spend literally 20% of all my money to make 3 recalibrations. And God forbid I was trying to do multiple builds for my different specializations, I'm looking at somewhere from anywhere from 7 to 10 recalibrations, and that is about 30,000, which is almost 50% of my entire credits that I have. And that's not to say if I wanted to maybe go craft a weapon that actually has, you know, perhaps the talents that I want, or maybe I have a blueprint for the weapon and I can't find one, and I need to just maybe craft a few to get somewhat close to the talents that I need, then you're looking at me spending anywhere close to maybe 30 to even almost 50,000 E-credits if I really wanted to sit there and min-max. And so-called trash gear, like I say, is actually very valuable in the game, and so that's why we sell it, not just the fact that, oh, we're just selling it or we're just crushing it. The second side is crushing it, but to get the resources. When it's time to craft, you have resources if you gather resources. So that's why we crush our gear, and that's why we do that. And so these are not necessarily big concerns for a lot of people. This is just kind of like the logical thing to do. But then there's a question of why do we have to store loot? And a whole bunch of people have asked me this question on different videos, like, hey, especially my preparing for World Tier 5 video, a lot of people said, you know, and these were genuine concerns. I don't see any reason why we need to store loot, because the game spoils you with a whole bunch of it. And I would say yes, and at the same time, I disagree. Yes, the game does spoil you with a lot of loot, but at the same time I disagree, because the RNG is actually quite complicated in order for you to actually min-max your build. Now, I'm going to go into a conversation that requires, you know, people who desire to min-max a build to pay attention. So if you don't care about min-maxing your build, the rest of this video will probably not make any sense or will provide no value for you. But if you're a min-maxer, then here is the reason why you need to be very watchful about the items that you get and actually store them, even to the point of making a second character and getting that character's, you know, backpack space to be very high for you to keep these items. And that's the fact that when it comes to min-maxing a build, you have to consider multiple parameters. The first thing you have to consider is, you know, what bonuses do the brand sets give you, what weapons you want to run, what talents they have, how their attributes require them to do so, and then you have to also consider your specialization. So when you think about all these things put together, min-maxing a build is actually a very tasking thing, and for you to be throwing away loot and just saying, yeah, I'm not going to need this stuff just because the game spoils you with a lot of loot is quite, in my opinion, not considering the fact that the RNG would need you to actually have specific amounts of electronic stamina and firearms in order for you to unlock certain attributes. In some examples, like maybe even patience. Patience is a very popular talent with a lot of people on the D-pads. If you look at the requirements for stamina, it's actually very high. It requires you to have 7 of the stamina or more. Now you can compensate with mods, but then you look at another talent that's like Safeguard that requires you to have 5 or less of your firearms talent. And so if you're trying to balance those two things, there are a lot of things you have to take into consideration. And so other talents like Bloodlust, which is a talent on the holster that requires you to have a specific minimum requirement, that's a very low amount of health in regard, and probably encouraging you to have more firearms, is something that you need to be able to also consider as well. So there's specific masks and attributes that they have that will prevent you from running specific talents. But if you maybe have the perfect combination, then running those talents will actually be easy and be very complementing of your entire build. So you're looking at a multi-layered build system in the Division 1 that actually makes you consider your specialization weapons with the buffs, the talents on your gear, and the brand sets and the buffs that they also provide. Because if I was running, say in this case, Survivalist, and I wanted to run myself a shotgun, which I have an SA-12, which is a fully automatic shotgun, and also an assault rifle, I would be looking for brand sets that would help me actually buff these weapons as much more. Because if I'm running Survivalist and I'm not running a shotgun, then I'm not leveraging the most out of the flat weapon damage that I can be getting. Now, yes, you can run whatever weapons you want, but me, I'm more of a traditionalist, so I want to run my assault rifle and my shotgun, so I'm looking for ways to make these weapons actually hit harder without even talking about critical hit damage or damage to elite. So what my options are Fenris and China Light Industries, because Fenris gives me an extra assault rifle damage, and China Light gives me an extra 10% damage to my shotguns. But then to find 2 Fenris items and 2 China Light items, or 1 Fenris and 1 China Light items, that's going to give me all these talents such as Berserk and give me Safeguard and also give me maybe Patience or some other talents that I want, and then to also give me the amount of attributes that I need to unlock these talents, is going to be a chore to find those items. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if somebody wants to talk about a min-max build, then they have to look at all those elements. And right now, there are very few of those builds that are online. Even now, I know people probably have them in their personal builds. I'm not saying, the best players of the division are the ones that don't make videos, because they spend time actually playing the game. And that's just a fact. It's not even, I'm not dissing other content creators. I'm a content creator myself, and I'll tell you that some of the most skilled players don't even have time to actually make videos. They actually play the game and farm and put builds together. So for those of us who are into min-maxing, it makes sense for us to actually keep gear. For those who don't really understand what that actually entails, they will not see any reason to keeping gear items or to keeping brand set items and just say, well, World Tier 5 is coming, so we need to just sell and crush all our gear. But for the seasoned player, we know that definitely that's not the approach. Yes, sometimes you have to sell gear, and there is the importance of selling gear, and I actually highlighted that in the beginning of this video, especially the fact that the purchasing economy and the crafting and recalibration economy is very expensive. And so yes, there is a case to actually sell your gear, but there's also a very strong case as to why you should actually save gear and be able to, min-max your build when the time and the opportunity comes. Because a min-max build that actually does damage is actually a good build. Yes, it's not always possible to min-max a build, but it's always nice. Even if it's a build that you don't actually want to run, like the Survivalist. Not a lot of people are running Survivalist, but I usually love to go with the underdog, and the Survivalist right now looks like the underdog, but I'm telling you that specialization actually has a lot to offer, and I'm going to be putting a video about that hopefully this week, just to kind of showcase it and all that good stuff. So we're almost at 10 minutes, and I wanted to just, open the floor for you guys to actually put out your opinions in the comment section as to why you think the economy, what areas of the economy are important to you. Is selling gear more important? Is crushing it more important? Is saving the gear more important? Are you a min-maxer like I am? And, whatever area you actually, lean on more, then that's fine. You don't have to have a min-max build in the Division 2 actually. But I think when we get raids, they're going to come in handy. It will really be helpful to get, builds that are actually close to min-max, in order to run those raids and do well in a sense. So that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for your comments as well, so that I can hear from you guys and leave questions as well. I'm going to get out right now, and I guess I'll see you in my next video. Peace. So one of the things I've discovered from reading comments and interacting with you guys in the comment section of some of my specialization videos is that a lot of people are actually hooked on the survivalist specialization, myself included. So I started out leveling up my demolitionist, trying to move over to the survivalist, and then finally fill up the specialization for the sharpshooter with the points, and then I discovered that I'm so hooked on the survivalist specialization, I have no interest on going sharpshooter. And I think that there are a lot of reasons that are obviously, the main push for me to continue to stick with the survivalist specialization. And from reading comments, a lot of people actually agree to this in the comment section and from around, the blog and the community. So let me give you just a few reasons why I feel like people are actually addicted to this specialization, and maybe it will probably persuade you to see what its usefulness is. The first things first in this specialization is its weapon classes. Now, it does support the assault rifle, and so this makes it something that's very appealing to a lot of people, because the assault rifle is a very versatile weapon. In most cases, you can get decent damage, and you can also get almost perfect stability and very good accuracy. If you really wanted to go crazy in some sense, or in some assault rifles, you can do a rapid rate of fire and really fire down range, even when it is in the heat of a heavy battle. So this is one of the appeals of the specialization. The next one is also the shotgun. You're getting a lot of this damage from a shotgun, and though even many people may say, we don't like running the shotgun, there are a lot of people who have actually corrected me and said, hey, we actually enjoy running shotguns. They pointed me to some really awesome ways of running a shotgun by using talents like premeditated, breadbasket. These are talents that actually change the game for the shotgun and gives it a lot more damage, even more than it would normally be. And so imagine a SPAS 12 having a lot more of these damage and boost from the talents and even from the specialization is definitely appealing to a whole lot of people. The second thing is the specialization weapon. Now, this is something where a lot of people may say it doesn't have the rapid rate of fire as a demolitionist, nor does it have a lot of headshot damage as a sharpshooter, and definitely so. But there are a few peculiar things about that explosive bolt that the survivalist actually has. The first one is he's able to increase his explosion damage by using a talent called Destructive. This talent grants you 20% explosive damage when you have it rolled on your gear, and it rolls on your mask, it rolls on your chest piece. I think it also rolls on your backpack as well. So with about 60% more explosive damage, you can literally see every time you equip an item that has Destructive on it, that your specialization weapons damage increases by that measure. And so you can not only get increased explosive damage, you can also use your explosive bolts to actually fire a trap. Now, this is something that you do strategically. If you know there's a spawn point, or if you know enemies are actually in a choke point, you can fire that bolt into the ground and give it a few seconds and it would explode, and also will come with some burn damage. Burn damage is actually something that's very, very good in this game, and your players in your group or your team can burst down these NPCs, because while they're burning, most of the time, some of them will stand still and be yelling and screaming. And so even though you may not only be using it for taking down heavy bosses, which is also nice for, a heavy boss to roll around the corner, and then you peg them with a bolt, and then they start to feel the burn from you. You can also use it in group strategic play as well. Another thing that I think makes it very appealing is when you're doing your cover to cover, you're using the scripting by talent, and this one just gives you 5 ammo every second for your weapon. Now, it doesn't go into your magazine, but at least it puts more ammo into your main weapon that you're handling at that point, and you have that ammo that's at your beck and call. So this is very good, especially when you run out of ammo, because sometimes you may be running your assault rifle, enjoying yourself, shooting a whole ton of NPCs, and then you find out, oh no, I have no ammo. Well, if you do a cover to cover run, and there's no limit for the cover to cover, it could be a short distance, you're going to get that 5 ammo as you're doing that. Another thing that I feel like makes it somewhat addictive to a lot of people is the grenades. Enjoying those grenades is a big part of the survivalist specialization. I mean, first of all, it's an incendiary grenade, and I think it's the best in my honest opinion, because first of all, a well-timed one is going to set enemies ablaze, keep them still enough, and also do damage over time. You can also inadvertently use your grenade in a strategic way. Say you miss your grenade toss, you can use it to set a wall of fire that will keep enemies from rushing you. It's very, very good to use those grenades. In fact, if you're in a mission with somebody, there's a very big potential for you to be able to make the difference between that setup of enemies just standing still and having them stay in cover and increasing the time that you're playing the mission. Another thing that you can do if you want to really be ornery in the battlefield is run this talent called Mad Bomber. If you look at this little clip that I have, this thing takes your grenade radius, your explosion radius, from where it is to 150%. This is for people who are really, really sneaky. This is if you want to be a bad boy in the battlefield or a bad girl and make these NPCs really suffer, then this is definitely something that you can run just for the sake of it. I mean, I've been testing this out, and I just want to say that it is actually very funny to see how widespread your grenade explosion radius actually is. I hope this doesn't get abused in like conflict or PvP, but maybe the developers put it there and they didn't really care, because if enemies are in cover, even a wide range, you can see how this talent actually changes the game for your team. And so these are just some of the reasons that I feel like some people are kind of enjoying the survivalist specialization, because being able to use a strong and powerful assault rifle means that you can solo some content, means that you can be very useful in a group. Having a bolt to actually ambush NPCs, to shoot big baddies when they come out at you, you know, is something that you would enjoy. And I understand the survivalist specialization weapon is something that you have to master, because it's not easy to fire those bolts and get your shots and hit your target every time. But I would say for sure it is one of the nice specializations as well. In fact, there's also the perk where if you kill an NPC, your team gets specialization ammo. Well, in the case of the demolitionist and the sharpshooter, you would have to kill them with your specialization ammo, and then that chance actually is there. But in the case of the survivalist, it's enemies that are killed with a status effect that actually gives that chance to drop. So in the case of the survivalist, I've seen a lot of people tell me that the drop for the special ammo is actually really low, when in many cases I never really experienced that, because enemies are always on status effect almost all the time when you're running in a group and they get killed. Explosive material is everywhere. Sometimes they're bleeding when you take them out, and so I see the survivalist ammo drop for me a lot during missions, and I never paid attention as to why until one of the participants on this channel pointed it out to me and said, hey, the language is actually very different and gives the survivalists much more of an ammo gain for the specialization weapon than everybody else. So put all these things together and you start to see why we're stuck here on the survivalist specialization. And even the sharpshooter, even though it may be one of the better damage ones, it's just not as appealing as the survivalist in all areas when it's all encompassing. Anyways, if you're a survivalist runner, please leave some of the reasons why you're enjoying this specialization class and why you think a lot of players are probably shifting over to it and not moving to the demolitionist or even to the sharpshooter. Even though I like the demolitionist, I've literally been running the survivalist much longer. I leveled up the demolitionist as the fastest. I really was enjoying it because of my LMGs, but I've just started to do the survivalist runs, and it's just amazing. In fact, I fully completed it 100%. And so these are my reasons that I think this is very addictive to a lot of players, and I hope to hear your reasons as well. Thank you very much for listening and watching this video. I appreciate your time and your audience, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Peace. So I've put together a practical list of weapons that I've used throughout my leveling up process in the Division 2, from when I was Agent 0 all the way through World Tier 2. And based on this experience, I'll share with you what weapons they are and why I think they're very useful in the game. You see, when you're in combat, every encounter needs you to be very practical. If you want to take down a sniper, then practicality would dictate that you avoid using something like, say, a shotgun. In essence, this video is not to show you the most overpowered weapons, but the most practical ones to use in combat scenarios. Because as beautiful as the so-called exotics may be, or as nice sounding as the name of some other weapons may seem, they're usually just trophies and will most likely serve you very little purpose in combat. So, based on parameters like accuracy, rate of fire, effectiveness, damage, I've put together a list of weapons that you can be looking out for to actually use in the beginning of the game and all the way through endgame to actually have some real enjoyment while in combat. Now, I've picked these weapons in no particular order, but instead I've just put them out there for you to see and know what kinds of weapons you can use over the course of the game. So the first weapon I'm going to highlight is in the assault rifle class, and this one is a dead giveaway. It's the Police M4 Replica. It's a high RPM weapon with good stability and decent accuracy that will help you win a firefight. You see, when you consider that this weapon also has a blueprint from when you start the game, I would say that this is the most practical weapon in Tom Clancy's Division 2, because every time you level up and that weapon is now outdated, you can just go back to the base of operations and craft a new one that matches your character level. Also, its low reload time makes it a very good utility weapon, so it's easy to trade off and be able to switch your magazines while you're face tanking and actually in combat. So I would say this is one of the best and most reasonably done weapons in Tom Clancy's The Division 2. The second weapon on this list is in the AR category, and this weapon has always been legendary from the Division 1, but with the constant change of metas and balancing and the fact that weapons like the LVOAC and the lightweight M4 took over the meta, this weapon just pretty much fell through the cracks for a lot of people. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to present to you the tactical PCR. This weapon can almost rival some marksman rifles when it comes to range. And though its RPM isn't that high, the accuracy in this weapon is actually very good. In fact, from this footage, you can see me just shredding away even in low visibility, because this weapon does the job. With its slow firing, you can also add an extended mag and gain more bullets for extensive damage to NPCs. The weapon is almost a sniper in assault rifle form, and believe it or not, if you're talking about trading in some fights, and you may not even have time to start switching to your marksman rifle, this weapon is going to serve you very well. Especially for those of you who want to run a long-range weapon but are not necessarily too keen on how the sniper rifles work in this Division 2 game, I can say that the tactical ACR will be a weapon that you will enjoy using so much. Just know that if you don't have extra bullets, you're going to run out of bullets very quickly, because you're going to pretty much be very dependent on this weapon once you start using it and once you gain a liking to it. The third weapon on the SIGs, or whatever it is you want to call it, and at first I didn't like this weapon when I first started playing the game, and I started trying other weapons in the rifle class, and all in all I circled back to coming back to this weapon. And let me tell you something, with an accuracy such as this, it's crazy how well this firecracker can land headshots on NPCs. You see, if you have this rifle and you're on the fence about using it, don't hesitate. It has a high RPM that will send dozens of bullets to the enemy, and if you spec well, by adding critical hit damage, adding some critical hit chance, and getting some brand sets that will up your damage, you can win trades if you're in a close-up scenario, because of how fast this weapon can actually fire with a decent amount of damage. Now, on the list again, the next weapon I want to speak about is the MK17, which is also a rifle. This weapon is very accurate, deals good damage, and has a very decent stability. And surprisingly, this weapon is quite ugly in its appearance, so I can see how aesthetically it may not be pleasing to a lot of people, but its utility is unsurpassed. Run with this bad boy, and it probably will surprise you how well it does in long-range encounters. Number 5 on the list for me is actually very controversial, and this is the Infantry MG5. And there are a lot of other LMGs that I could have picked on this list, but I just chose this weapon because of a few things that I want you to consider. Now, one of the things for a weapon like this is the rate of fire is so fast, and so that inherently increases your damage. And once you have that rate of fire, you also have to think about the amount of accuracy this thing actually has with it. This LMG is very accurate, and in a situation where you actually want to deal a lot of damage, this weapon actually works. But here's the caveat. In order to run a weapon like this with a controller, it will most likely be an eyesore unless you're really good at controlling the weapon, because it fires really fast, and before you kind of get it in line, you may have lost like half your magazine on just shooting random bullets. So what I would say is, if you're on console and this LMG doesn't work for you, then there are a whole lot of others. There's the RPK, and which is slower in its rate of fire. There's also the M249B, which I think is a very solid weapon. In fact, it's one of my favorites. Now, another thing with LMGs like this are their reload speeds are actually very slow. Unless you talk about maybe the L8 or the RPK, these weapons have a better reload time. So that's something you have to consider. But for me, I would run these slow firing LMGs every time, every day, because they have a lot more bullets and they actually deal a lot of damage. But I've picked the Infantry MG5 because of its rate of fire and its accuracy. Those are the two things that really stood out for me when I made this pick. But if you have any other picks for LMGs, please leave them in the comment section below. I'm still learning just like you are. Number 6 is in the marksman rifle family, and with the number of marksman rifles in the game, I'll most definitely give my preference to the SR1 marksman rifle. This is new in the Division 2. It's different from the SRS A1 or the Covert SRS. And with this SR1 marksman rifle, there's something to be said about the stability of this weapon that crowns it the king of headshots. You see, in my time using this weapon, I was able to quickly close many cases of bad NPCC. And with this weapon in my agent's hand, those black tusks did not even stand a chance. And for those of you who know me, who played the game with me, you know that I cannot shoot for nothing. I don't touch marksman rifles just
Y'all see that? 2 clips. Them are a million damage.
With them. But I want to say that this marksman rifle does the job. And if I say that a marksman rifle is actually very stable, this marksman rifle does very well. Tactical. You can also get the M700 Carbon. You can get the custom M44 rifle. Just does the job. It's just really there to make a clean shade. It's very practical when it comes to using them. Now, number 7 is, but where I'm from, we never take anything for granted. I still call my parents. I just want to play. So lately I've concerns are not that folks don't have good gear or that folks don't know how to play the game. It's that a lot of players are aggressive when they're in a match-made encounter.